Inside ADX Florence, Colorado, even the food is punishment. The tray arrives the same way every time. No voice, no warning, no human presence. Just a narrow slot in a steel door and a hand that never lingers long enough to be seen. Inside the tray is food that looks engineered to keep a body alive, but nothing more. No color that stands out, no smell that invites. Just portions, measured, controlled. Here, even eating feels like part of the sentence. Deep in the mountains of Colorado, far removed from ordinary life, stands a facility designed to eliminate uncertainty. The Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX Florence, does not rely on walls alone to contain the men inside it. It relies on routine, repetition, and the slow removal control. Inside, the world is reduced to a concrete box, 7 feet wide, 12 feet long, a bed formed from the wall itself, a desk that cannot be moved, a toilet and sink made of steel, a narrow window that shows only a fragment of sky, never the horizon, never movement, never life. The door is solid, unforgiving, and at the bottom of that door, a slot. That slot becomes everything. Morning doesn't arrive with sunlight. It arrives with sound. A sudden metallic shift breaks the stillness. The slot opens. The tray slides through. Then it closes again before the moment can fully register. Breakfast sits in silence. Powdered eggs, a slice of bread, sometimes oatmeal. The textures blend together. Soft, indistinct. There is no heat rising from it. No signal that it was just prepared. It feels like something processed long before it ever reached the cell. Eating happens quickly at first. The body still remembers hunger the way it used to feel. Sharp, immediate, but there is no conversation to slow the pace. No reason to stretch the moment. So it ends almost as soon as it begins. And then nothing. Time expands. The fluorescent light hums faintly overhead. It does not flicker. It does not dim. It stays constant, removing any sense of morning or evening. There are no shadows shifting across the room. No indication that the outside world is moving forward. Only the awareness that it must be some inmate's pace. Back and forth. Back and forth. Counting steps without realizing it. Others sit on the edge of the bed, hands still, eyes fixed on nothing. And some lie down, staring at the ceiling, letting thoughts move in circles. Hours pass this way, unbroken, until the next sound. Lunch arrives with the same mechanical precision. Slot opens, tray slides in, slot closes. This time it might be beans, rice, a portion of meat formed into a shape too perfect to feel natural. The food is consistent, but not in a way that comforts. It is consistent in a way that erases difference. Every bite feels like the last. Every meal feels like the one before it. There is no anticipation, no curiosity, just repetition. The body adjusts. Hunger becomes quieter, less demanding, because it learns there is nothing to look forward to. Eating becomes automatic, a function rather than a choice. The tray is cleared, set aside, and again, silence returns. But silence here is not empty. It has weight. It presses inward. Without voices, without movement, the mind begins to fill the space on its own. Thoughts become louder, more persistent. Memories surface without warning. Small details from years ago begin to replay with unusual clarity. Conversations, faces, regrets, things that once passed unnoticed now return with intensity. And there is no way to interrupt them. No distraction, no escape. Dinner comes as a final break in the day, if it can be called a break. The same process repeats. The same sound, the same motion, the same absence of human presence. By now, the act of eating has changed. It is slower, not because there is anything to savor, but because there is nothing else to move toward. Some stretch it out, turning minutes into something longer. Others finish quickly, eager to get it over with. Either way, it ends the same, with an empty tray. And more time, days begin to lose their edges. Without variation, the brain struggles to separate one from another. Yesterday feels identical to today. Meals no longer serve as markers. They blend together. Breakfast becomes indistinguishable from dinner. The idea of time weakens. And in that space, control becomes a defining force. Because here, control is constant, absolute. There is no choosing what to eat, no choosing when, no ability to refuse without consequence. Even the smallest decision is removed. And when behavior crosses a line, the system responds. There is a different kind of meal used in those moments. A single, dense block. Everything combined into one form. Vegetables, grains, protein, blended and compressed. No separation, no texture, no identity. It is placed on the tray without explanation, and it replaces everything else. There are no sides, no options, just one object, heavy in the hand, difficult to break apart, designed to be consumed, not experienced. This is not about nourishment alone. It is about control, removing even the smallest layer of choice, forcing compliance through repetition. Some eat it immediately, just to end the discomfort. Others hesitate, because the act of eating it feels different, more final, more controlled. But refusal carries weight. Hunger begins to build. At first, it is manageable, a dull ache. Then it sharpens, becomes harder to ignore. The body pushes back, demanding something to fill the space. And eventually, most give in, not out of desire, but necessity, because here, resistance has limits. Over time, these patterns begin to reshape the mind. Food loses meaning. It is no longer tied to comfort, memory, or identity. It becomes neutral, a process. The brain adapts to the lack of variation. It stops expecting flavor, stops reacting to texture. Meals pass without impression, without memory. And in that absence, something subtle begins to disappear. The connection between experience and emotion. Because outside, food is more than sustenance. It is routine. It is culture. It is shared. But here it is isolated. Like everything else, there are no shared tables, no voices across a room, no moments of pause. Just one person, one tray, one silent space. Isolation intensifies the effect. Without external input, the mind turns inward completely. Patterns emerge. Some begin to organize their meals in precise ways, breaking portions into exact halves, eating in sequences that never change, creating rules where none exist. It becomes a form of structure, a way to reclaim something that feels lost. Others drift in the opposite direction, losing interest entirely, forgetting to eat until the body forces attention back to it. Food becomes secondary to thought, secondary to time, secondary to the environment itself. And slowly the line between days fades. Everything becomes one continuous stretch, interrupted only by the sound of a slot opening and closing. In most places, eating is a pause, a moment that separates one part of the day from another. But here, it does not separate anything. It blends into the same unchanging pattern. There is no beginning, no end, just repetition. And within that repetition, something deeper takes hold. A constant awareness that nothing is within reach. Not choice, not variation, not control. Only structure, only routine, only the system. The trays keep coming. 3 times a day, every day, always the same, always controlled, always silent. And over time, they stop feeling like meals at all. They become signals. Proof that the system is still operating. That time is still moving. Even if it cannot be felt, metal against metal, slot opening, slot closing, a cycle that never breaks. And in that cycle, something fades. Not suddenly, not in a way that can be measured, but slowly, quietly, until even the simplest act, like eating, no longer feels connected to living, only to surviving, only to existing inside a structure that allows nothing beyond that. A place where even hunger is managed, even taste is reduced, even routine becomes a form of control. And in the silence between each meal, there is nothing left to distract from it, nothing left to soften it, only the awareness that this continues, day after day, tray after tray, without change, without relief, until the act of eating itself feels less like a human experience, and more like a system working exactly as it was designed to.